You are now listening to
Chakras and Shotguns.
Welcome back to Chakras and Shotguns. This is episode 41. I'm Mick.
And I'm Jen. Welcome back.
So what's up? How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm devastated. I'm disgusted. I'm disappointed.
What happened?
I lost my Wordle streak today. And I almost didn't tell you.
That's not what I was expecting, but okay.
I almost didn't tell you because you're very competitive.
That's true.
You know, you have an undefined heart on your chart.
Mm-hmm.
And I just could not take the smugness that I knew you were going to have if you got the word for today, knowing that I didn't.
I got it in 4. So yeah.
We didn't have to talk about that. I had like an 82-day streak.
I'm at 83.
Okay, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
I don't even know if I'm at 83. I think you started before me, so I might be.
See? You see? I'm over here like, oh, this is my partner in life. We share all things. I tell you in advance that I wasn't going to tell you because I know how you do. And you just...
I validated your assumptions.
Wow. In other news, I got up this morning, I had to do some work, and like I was completely locked out of like my computer, all of our systems. It was like this user has been locked out. And I was like, well, fine. I don't feel like doing no work today anyway. But I ended up calling IT and getting back in, but it made me think of the time that we got locked out of our oldest daughter's school. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm. No, I thought of this as well. It's interesting because that was one of the last weeks we had her at that school. We were kind of debating, do we keep her here? COVID protocols aren't quite to our liking. They had like a hand, foot, and mouth outbreak. And so it just seemed like they didn't have a good control over the classroom and like keeping things in a safe, healthy way. And they had also had like a flood because of a storm. And so they were like in this like, it was just a lot of chaos up there.
Mayhem.
And so, yeah, the rooms weren't all like functional, and they just had the kids in these weird temporary rooms. And so we were just like, do we bring her back home with us, even though that sucks to try to work from home and have a toddler, you know, needing things. So we were just debating, and then we got locked out, and it was like, okay, like this is clearly energetically we're being told that she no longer should be here.
Yeah, so the school had a keypad on the door so you can get in, so like just nobody can wander in off the street and like snatch up kids. And we each had, me and you each had individual codes to get in. We usually just use one. And so it wasn't working. And I talked to the lady that ran the place. She looked in the system and she was like, that's weird. It looks like someone went in and took out just y'all's codes. And I was like, that's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
That's all I needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
So
we took her out.
Yeah. And she ended up in a great school that she's thriving in. But back to me. I have been just trying to figure out, I keep saying the exit ramp out of this position. And look, don't lock me out. Don't lock me out of the computer. It was just so weird because I had just reset it with IT like 2 days ago and like it was fine. And then like today it was just like, no, you're locked out and you're locked out. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Thank you for the sign that I needed. So I'm sure there will be an announcement on the podcast soon.
All right, well, let's jump into a little breath work. So it is my turn to lead today. And we talked about on the last episode just this new spring energy. And I've been really taking advantage of it, jumping into things, starting new projects, you know, getting to some things that I had kind of been putting off. And I just feel like it's almost gone into overdrive a little bit to where my mind's all over the place. And so I think for me, I could use a little bit of grounding work. And so I thought if we could do just a little grounding visualization today to just bring us both down. We're both air signs. Spend a lot of time with our head in the clouds. So let's bring our energy back to the ground. So let's all sit in a comfortable position. Let's have our spine nice and straight. And I want us to have our feet firmly planted to the ground. I want you to feel all 10 toes, the balls, the arch, the heel of your foot touching the ground. Just bring your awareness, bring your attention to your feet. Let's show some gratitude to our feet for supporting us, keeping us connected to the earth. And as you're sitting there with your awareness on your feet, let's just visualize as if you were a tree. Your feet were like roots that were stretching down and connecting with the earth. And let's just take some nice, deep, grounding breaths from our belly as we connect and ground ourselves with the earth. In through your nose and out through the mouth. Two more. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Last one. In through your nose and out through your mouth. All right. Hopefully you guys are feeling good and grounded. If you have the chance today, even while you're listening to the podcast, step outside and get some sunlight.
All right. Thank you, Meg. I know with the wintertime, we didn't get outside and get in the grass. And then even when it started warming up, the grass was dry, hurt. So take advantage. If you have some nice weather, you can put your feet in the grass. That'd be great. We are so excited to welcome our guest today. April 11th kicks off Black Maternal Health Week. And it's something that both Mick and I are very passionate about, especially after having 2 kids. And in honor of that, we wanted to bring on the fabulous Cookie Abamu. Cookie is a certified full spectrum doula and board certified lactation counselor. She is passionate about helping moms feel empowered, and she is a champion of something called mindful birth. We'll get into that. Cookie is also the owner of Milk by Cookie lactation cookies, which are delicious, and she ships them, and they're vegan. After giving birth to my second daughter, Cookie served as our postpartum doula, and then, which is something that's happened with Cookie multiple times, we just kind of didn't want to let her leave. So then she became our nanny until our second was 1. If you also remember from our Reiki episode, Cookie attuned Mick all the way to the Reiki level of master. And she also implements Reiki in her doula and lactation work. So she holds a very special place in our hearts, and we're so excited to have her join Chakras and Shotguns.
All right, Cookie. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. We're so happy to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So just to start off, why don't you tell us and the listeners a little bit about your background?
Ooh, okay. Well, I am a mother of 3, a grandmother of 1. I have 2 adult daughters and 1 almost adult son. I don't know. It depends on the day. This week he's an adult. I am a doula. I am a lactation counselor. I am a pastry chef. I'm everything from head to toe. I've done all of that. But I've been a doula for over 7 years now. And I have been doing lactation work pretty much for like 18 years. I think that's my real passion, and that's just been called upon me.
Nice. For some additional context, Cookie's also a manifesting generator. So we're not surprised that she has a million businesses.
Yeah.
It's actually something we tease her gently about.
But I'm working on it.
It's okay. You have a diverse set of interests. So I remember when I was pregnant with our first, and I had like some random friends say like, "Are you going to get a doula?" And I was like, "Girl, what is that? Like, the price is already high enough for me to even deliver this child." And Mick and I went to a childbirthing class. It was like an all-day thing. And this woman, she was so good, this teacher. She was a doula herself, but she didn't make it seem like she was indoctrinating us. But by the end of the class, I was like, yeah, I'm getting a doula.
Yeah.
If it wasn't my first, I probably would have said, yeah, I'm going to have this baby at home. But I wanted the comfort of just in case being in a hospital. But I say all that to say, I think a lot of people still don't really know what a doula is. Like they kind of have an idea.
Yeah. And they don't, because every time someone's like, "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm a doula." A who? A what? And then I have to go in and explain. So basically, a doula can be several things. You can use it for like a spiritual doula. You can have a transition doula, but I am a birth doula. I am a postpartum doula. A birth doula is a person who support the family, the husband and wife, during their time of birth. That means we don't take the husband or the spouse place. What we do is comfort the mother or the family during that time, being rubbing her back, using essential oils, whatever she needs to support. And in a hospital birth, we are usually the person that speaks up with their birth plan, because we know that parents are busy or are just in a zone. So we're that person to speak up and say, "Hey, no, we're a voice of reason. Yes, she wanted this or she didn't want that." So that's kind of what a birth doula is. A postpartum doula is a person who comes and take care of mom to make sure she's healing correctly, getting back to, our grandparents' ways, our great grandparents' ways, where, hey, don't get up out of 6 weeks or don't come out for at least a week or what have you. Just make sure she's healing correctly and supporting her on that, whatever it may be. If it's doing laundry for her that day or cooking meals or doing belly massages, wrapping her, making sure she's showered, supporting her with her breastfeeding. So that's what a postpartum doula is.
Yeah, I remember the class that Jen mentioned where we were, talking to this doula who was kind of, leading this training. And the way she explained it, I thought was really interesting. She says, the staff at the hospital, the nurses, the doctors, they're going to make sure that the baby is good. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a lot of their attention focused on the baby. And yes, they'll be, monitoring the mother's vitals, but it's almost secondary to the needs of the baby. And so as
Right.
the doula, having that birth doula there is someone who's going to be advocating for the mom and really making sure that the mom is having the best experience possible during the birth.
Right.
And what she desires.
Exactly.
Exactly. Because a lot of people get it confused, like with a baby nurse or a baby specialist. That person is there to take care of the baby. A doula, it starts at the contraction. As soon as you have a contraction, that's when your doula comes in, and she's there to take care of you and make sure you're good. Because sometimes, like Mick said, everyone is busy and you could be over here turning blue.
That was huge for me, I think, like even from an identity perspective. I remember I was pregnant with my first. I didn't really feel like a mom yet because I hadn't had the baby. But even like for my birthday, people were giving me gifts, like mom gifts. And I was like, I'm not a mom yet. And this is my birthday and this is for me. And when you have the baby, it feels harder to separate the two. Like you feel guilty. And we know how many moms struggle with self-care and carving that out for themselves. And what I liked about having a postpartum doula in Cookie was that it was like, go take a nap, go take care of yourself. And I was like, I can go do that. It's kind of like you need that extra push and permission to not feel selfish and really take care of yourself and feel like you're getting taken care of. Because everybody's like, oh, the baby, the baby, the baby. You know, even, you know, grandparents come over and they're like, oh, the baby. And you're just like, I haven't eaten. Is anybody going to feed me?
Yeah. and women of color, like we have not a problem, but we have a hard time with that. Like, hey, it's okay to get taken care of, you know? Like we've had to be so strong, like, okay, going back to work. No, it's okay. Go take a nap. I'm going to bring you food, or let me do this for you. Let me do your laundry, or whatever it is that you need. And I feel like a postpartum doula is kind of aligned with you. And that's why you should meet them. And we'll talk about that later. So you'll have the perfect one for you. But yes, we have a big time with that, like letting someone support us and take care of us.
Jen, do you want to like tell a little bit about your experience with doulas, since you've had both a birth doula and a postpartum doula?
Yes. So with our oldest, I labored for 36 hours. So my birth doula, who ended up becoming my midwife with the second, she was kind of in and out. So she would kind of pop up, check on me, see how labor was progressing. And with that labor, it was not progressing. It was really erratic. My contractions were all over the place. And so it was just taking time. But she was in and out. And then my water broke and she was kind of like, okay. I mean, like without getting into all of the specifics, but my water broke and she was like, okay, I'm going to meet you at the hospital. And she was there. From there, labor progressed very quickly. I was basically holding this baby in. It was very annoying because nobody at the hospital was listening to me. And I was just like so frustrated. And then my doula got there and she took one look at me and was like, oh, she about to like really have this baby. Like, I don't know why everybody else doesn't see this.
Hello.
They were like, oh, go change your clothes and then we'll check you and we'll see how far along you are. And my doula was like putting on gloves and was like, she came in the bathroom with me and said, I can catch a baby.
Right. That part.
She could tell. And I think that's what I like about a doula is that they're a lot more intuitively and more emotionally connected with the transition of childbirth, like watching that and feeling that and not so clinical and removed from it. It's like, check, check, check. Okay, now she's 10 centimeters and now we can push. And it's like, no, they're looking at you. They're listening to the sounds that you're making. They can tell when you're like, don't touch me. It's like, ooh, it might be time. Like, you know, just those things, those little cues. The doctor came in. He wasn't my regular doctor. He was very old school. And he told me, "Oh, you're moving around too much. We can't keep track of the baby's heartbeat. Do you want us to put this like needle in the baby's scalp?" Because the baby's head is there. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Oh, do you want us to put this needle in the baby's scalp so we can check her heart rate?"
For what? Why? She's here now.
And this is the exact type of moment where I strongly encourage moms to get a doula, because I've been holding this baby in for close to an hour. Like literally knowing, I thought I was going to have her in the car on the way to the hospital. And I'm like delirious. Like I am out of body almost. And I'm like, do I want that? And Mick doesn't know. And I was like, I don't. And I can see how that train starts moving, where moms are like, well, I guess, I mean, you would know, right? You're the doctor. And I'm not saying that doctors don't know what they're doing, but just having someone explain it. Like he rattled off the medical term for it. I had no idea what that meant.
Right.
I wasn't about to Google it either. And I asked my doula, I was like, is that something that I want? And she was trying to make eyes at me like, but she couldn't really say that. So she said, well, why don't you ask what that is? And I was like, what is it? And he was like, it's a needle in the head. And I was like, I don't think so.
And then I shook my head like, mm-mm.
Right.
I don't think I want that.
That's when you and your doula have that connection. Like, you know, because as a doula, you cannot give medical advice, but you can give that eye like, you know?
The second time, our second daughter, we decided to do a water birth at home. It was COVID-19. I was like, I'm going to be at the house. And did a midwife, water birth. And I think we were trying to make the decision, do we need a labor doula and a postpartum doula? And so we decided to just do postpartum. In hindsight, I probably would have done both. Because Mick was there and he was very supportive, but we were actually having issues filling up the tub. Mm-hmm. It was like a inflatable tub that you give birth in. And we were having issues filling it up. And at one point, Mick was running back and forth to the guest bathroom, filling up a pasta pot with hot water and dumping it in the tub.
I was gonna make sure my baby had her water birth. She said she wanted water in the tub. I was like, look, this little hose, the fittings ain't right. It ain't putting the water in the tub, but I'm gonna do what I gotta do. So I made sure she had water in the tub.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have a labor doula, because this labor was a lot more intense. It was not erratic. It was fast and furious. And it was about 6 hours total, like from first contraction. And I was like on the couch watching IG Live or whatever. But that one, I needed a little bit more support. But my midwife had an assistant. And when she got there, that helped a ton. But yeah, I would strongly encourage still to get a labor doula. Cookie came after I had the baby, about maybe like a week after she was born.
To get the COVID test.
I know. So that was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
But then she came over. She was like, I'm going to come over on a Saturday. And I was like, no, don't worry about it. She was like, no, I'm going to come over. And she like felt me up to make sure my milk was coming in okay. Gave me a little Reiki boost.
Yeah.
And it was phenomenal. I think everybody should get a postpartum doula, but especially if you're on your second or more kid. Because I just did not know how I was going to juggle both and how that was going to work and how I was going to rest. And we had like a 2.5-year-old. And what does that look like? You know, she can only go stay with my mom for so long. Like she has to come home. So Cookie was like monumental in being like, have you taken a nap today? And I was like, I can take a nap every day. I love this. Have you eaten? You need to eat because you're nursing. And I was like, okay. So that support, if you get as much support as you can, even if you think you don't need it, you'll need it.
All right. So I want to go back to you, Cookie. Let's talk a little bit about what made you want to go into this work. Why did you decide to become a doula?
So I did IVF with my son that's 18 now. And because I chose to do IVF, that was a choice. My mom did not understand it. So, and I had 2 kids prior. So she just could not understand, like, why are you even doing IVF? And I did IVF, and I ended up having to go in the hospital. And I stayed in the hospital like 6.5 months prior having him. So, with that being said, I was left alone. My mom had my girls, and that was perfect. She was taking care of my girls, and I appreciate that. But there was no one there to come visit me. My friends came on a weekend if they could, but 6 months, like, girl, okay. The first couple of weeks was cute. And then later on, it just got like too much for everybody to just come. So I just remember being alone. And then the other thing that happened was we lived downtown Dallas. And so there was a homeless lady that was expecting. And to know me, you just know that's me. With homeless people, I honestly give the shoes off of my back, like off my feet, like, and I wear 12. so, so that's crazy. So she was homeless, and I saw that she was pregnant, and I just like kind of just asked her, like, hey, do you have food to eat or what's going on? So the first thing I did, I was working out at the YMCA, and I just asked him, I was like, hey, she just needs to take a shower and just need to be in a safe place during the day. And then she can walk or do whatever she have to do at night. So they actually like got it all set up, got up a program where she could get a membership for a discount price. And I paid that price for her to be able to take her shower and rest during the day. And then when I would cook or buy meals, I would always make sure I was taking care of her. So when it was time for her to deliver, my doorman, he's like, hey, someone's down here, because they wasn't going to let her up because she was homeless. Someone's down here asking for you. And I was like, oh, what? Who? I'm all pretty much paranoid. Who asked it for me? And so he told me, he's like, hey, that homeless lady that you've been feeding. And so she was in labor, and we got in the car, and I had said, okay, let me drop Jackson off, and then we'll go. And I took her to the hospital, and there we went. They were so rude to her. She was a number. They were like treating her like crap. And I was like, hey, no, wait, she's a human. They were even calling like, hey, guy, calling this dude, Ryan, don't you need your birth numbers? Like, we got a birth for you. Like, she was just a number. And I was like, oh, no one should ever be treated like that. So right after that, I looked up being a doula, and I went and took my certification through donor doula certification. And I just want to just say, we need to do our research, because all training and certifications is not for us. Mm-hmm. And that's all I need to say to that. So I did do my certification, but along with my certification, doing what I had to do, I also did a lot of other certification, because I just couldn't just be left with this booklet. I needed to really know and study how to take care of women of color.
To that point, you've developed your own doula training.
I have.
And does that have special components, like specifically for women of color and moms of color?
Mm-hmm. So I am actually transitioning from being a doula myself. I will always be a doula, but the full time I am transitioning from that. And I really want to train really good doulas. I really want it not to just be like a fad, or this is something cute to do, or I just want to see a baby. I really want to train women or men to teach them how to take care of women of color. We need more doulas. We need more support in the birth field. So, yeah, that's my training, just to make sure they get that. Even if you go take it, you're training from somewhere else, I do have the add-ons that will support you to make sure you're taking care of that mom and you see the signs that that mom need.
So another thing that actually influenced me to get a doula with our first MIC was there were a lot of articles coming out about Black women dying at a higher rate from complications from childbirth. So we know from the CDC that Black women have a maternal mortality rate that's 2 to 3 times that of white women. And what really stood out to me was it did not matter socioeconomic status, how many degrees they had, what they did, their lifestyle. Like you're thinking, oh, maybe it's like more women who are homeless or more women who are on drugs or not taking care of themselves, or it did not matter. And so that was like really mind blowing to me, because I think we think of childbirth like, oh girl, you having a baby. Okay. Like, and we don't think that like you're like really putting your life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Serena Williamson had her baby the year before.
Yep.
And just hearing her story of like, she's like, hey, I know that I need this. I know my body. And everybody was like, okay, girl. And I was like, if Serena Williams can't get great medical attention, like how can I make sure that I have everything that I need? So, however, we still see a lot of Black women who have been hesitant about working with doulas and midwives. Cookie, why do you think that is?
Once again, I just feel like we've been taught to be so strong that and it's been having a doula and a midwife, it's like so shone upon, like, oh, that's so hippie, or, oh, that's voodoo, or, I mean, I'm like, how can that be voodoo? But whatever. I even heard that. Or, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to have a doula or a midwife? That's what the doctors and nurses are for. And so in your head, you'll be like, yeah, that's true. But I really feel like it's because we've been taught to be so strong that we can do that. And people do not take birth seriously as they used to in lack of knowledge.
I also wonder if part of it's cost too.
Yeah.
Because I was stunned how much, even with insurance, it was going to cost for me to have a birth in a hospital. Assuming I didn't have a C-section and there were no complications, like baby wasn't born early or needed to go into the NICU. Like it was still thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so I even had a conversation with a friend of mine who she was trying to decide if she was going to have a labor doula. And she was like, yeah, well, we're trying to remodel the house and et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, but if you really had to make a decision and you wanted to have a smooth birth and you wanted it to be nice and easy, and she had had a doula the first time, is it really going to make that much of a difference?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like also it's so funny that we'll buy like a stroller for $1,500. I'm not all in your pocketbook or what have you, but someone that's going to be here to support you in your health. I don't know. I shouldn't say a stroller because you need a stroller, but let's just say
bassinet.
That part, that whole part, the snuggle bassinet that costs $2,000. The snoo. Thank you. The snoo. Thanks. That's $2,000. Keeping it real, we have to come back to what's important, our body.
So, Cookie, what would you tell women or even future dads about having a doula or a midwife that you think would surprise them?
I would tell them that it's not hippie. It's just not all about home birth. You can have a doula in a hospital if that's your choice, because I know a lot of partners are like, hey, it's our first baby and I want to be in the hospital. And so midwives and doulas are available for hospitals.
Do you have any tips for someone who's looking for a doula and trying to find the person that's the right fit for them?
So if you Google find a doula, there's a website that found a doula, and a lot of them are on that website, and you can go look them up, or you can see if there's a doula association in your area. Also, you can go to IG. That's the yellow pages right there. You can Google Dallas doulas, LA doulas, and they'll pretty much all kind of pop up because that's just a hashtag that they use if they're in that area.
I went for energy fit. Like, did this person make me feel comfort? Or did they give me anxiety? Did I feel like they might not show up?
Right.
That was big for me.
What are some key questions that someone should ask a potential doula when they're trying to figure out if they're the right fit?
I would ask the doula, like, are you still working a full-time job?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that plays a big character. What's your backup? Do you have someone to support you if you're not able to come? Because that happens. What's your belief? Some people pour their beliefs on you. And if she answers, I'm here for you. Okay.
Cool.
That's cool. Because if she busts out and she's like, I'm a this and I'm a that and I'm that. Oh, thank you. But if she turns that question around and says, I'm here for you.
I was interviewing, I think I talked to 3 doulas before we settled on the one we went with for our first daughter, Mick. And one of them I really, really liked. It came down to 2. And I really liked her. I really, really did. But she was still working a full-time job. And she said, I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this. This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. My boss supports me in this. But it was my first baby. And I was like, I can't be out here waiting on you to get off work. I just can't.
Especially because our daughter was born in the middle of the day.
She sure was.
Oh, Virgo, come on through.
Friday afternoon. And our regular doctor had already left for the weekend. Like, it was a mess. But anyways, Cookie, one more thing. When should women look for a doula? Like, how far along should they?
I say as soon as you find out you're pregnant.
Okay.
I mean, you're not going to sign the contract then, but I feel like you should get to know this person if she's going to be your doula. Start just looking at her personality, like on Instagram. See, and then you might change by the time you're at 30 weeks, because that's usually where you'll sign up and sign your contracts is at 30 weeks. But you might just feel like, oh, I don't think like we're a good fit at 30 weeks, you know? And that way, at least you have like about 5 that you can start interviewing right there at 30 weeks.
We don't want to completely scare any potential moms, and I hope my stories that I shared weren't scary. But do you have any examples of births where you were able to advocate for the mom and avoid something potentially bad from happening?
Yes, I don't want to scare any moms either. But there was one time that I was at a birth, and I wasn't at a birth. She went to her appointment. And they told her, hey, baby's heart is not beating. We need you to go immediately to the hospital. So she called me and she said, hey, they told me my baby heartbeat is not beating. And I was like, okay, I'll meet you at the hospital. So when we get to the hospital, yes, they said the baby's heartbeat is not beating. And they kept, they put the monitor on her. They said, baby is not moving. The heartbeat is still not there. So I said, what do you want to do? Because she said, well, I don't believe that, and she's crying. She's like, what should I do? And I said, well, trust your body. If you want to wait and see what your body says in the morning, you can do that. You do not have to be rushed to go have a C-section. Is it going to hurt anyone? If baby is not living and the heartbeat is not there, it's okay to wait another day or until the morning, because it was already like 7 or 8, and let's just pray about it. And that's what we did. And so the following morning she went into the C-section, and baby came out screaming. like
Wow.
screaming like, you guys are liars.
Wow.
I am here. So what happened was it was actually her placenta had erupted and she was in danger, not even baby.
Wow. Okay.
She was in danger, not even baby. So that was a whole nother case that we had to like, honestly, it was no decision to be made. She honestly had to like go ahead and have a hysterectomy after that.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about dads and kind of birth partners. And I know when we had a doula for our first, I was kind of trying to figure out like what my role was and how I could really help. It just, it was new to me, and the doula seemed like she knew everything, but I was trying to figure out where my place was. So, what advice or things can you say about how dads or other birth partners can help before, during, and even after childbirth?
I feel like that the partners should take classes. They should take classes. There are books. It's like so many books out there for how to support my partner during birth. So yeah, take classes and books.
I guess I'd probably say helping might not look the way you think it's going to look during childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were filling that pasta pot. Sometimes you were just like walking up and down our street with me.
Yeah.
And like if I needed to hold on to you, you needed to just be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like some men, if I'm, traditionally, some men might be like, I gotta do something. What am I supposed to be doing?
Mm-hmm.
Be putting something in the car or doing this or doing that. And it's like, it doesn't necessarily look like that. And it could also be like a lot of ups and downs, like there's a lot of downtime. And
yeah, I actually think with our second, you missed me like not being like just there, right? With the first one, the doula was kind of handling a lot of things and I was able to just kind of be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the second one, I had a job, I was on the pasta pot. So yeah, I wasn't able to be as like there for you.
Yeah.
So
I think you like watched the whole movie with the first one. It took so long.
Yeah.
You were like in the middle of watching a movie.
I think so.
I had taken a nap.
And that's a good role right there. Like you're kind of staying out of mom's way. Watch your movie or what have you.
Yeah.
Like, so that looks different for every birth because during birth, mom personality might change and you might not understand it. And then let's go back to having a doula where she would just tell you, this is temporarily.
I kept it together.
I think for the most part, yeah.
I was feisty with the second.
Yeah.
I was okay. So doula says, I think like we need to get baby better in position. I'm gonna call your chiropractor over here. So we had the chiropractor do a house call.
This was with the first.
This is with the first. See, I believe in a lot of support. So we had the chiropractor come over. She stops at Starbucks. She gets donuts and coffee for Mick and the doula. Ain't nobody asked me if I want nothing. Okay, so I'm already mad. And she's setting up the little table and I'm kind of standing around and Nikki, our doula, was like, okay, I want you to like do stair steppers on the fireplace. And I was just like, what the fuck? I don't want to do that. I was so hot. And they were just like kikiing and laughing. Mind you, by this time I had probably been in labor for like 15 hours.
Yeah.
I was irritated.
Yeah.
Second one, I was cussing a lot.
Yeah.
But like in a sassy way.
Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine.
You can imagine me cussing a lot?
Mm-mm.
It was like, Nikki, our midwife, she kept asking me like, how was that contraction? Okay, tell me about that contraction. And she asked me about one. I said, same shit, different day, Nikki.
Okay.
And they just laughed and laughed.
And you're like, what's funny?
And everybody was having a ball.
But you.
But me.
But that's how it is at birthday parties, right? It's
What?
always everyone else in like having a ball and the mom is the one that's like running around doing everything.
Especially for those Virgos.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait.
Virgo slander.
My mom is a
Okay.
Virgo, so you know.
And I'm a Virgo.
Exactly.
I have a lot of Virgo in my chart.
So let's talk about what are some critical elements of natal care that you think are often overlooked?
Belly massages. I don't think a lot of people get into the belly massages or the belly wraps because I know in the hospital, they'll do your massage, right after you give birth. They'll come in and just push down on your belly to make sure everything is out. I need you to do that every hour on the hour just to make sure everything is out. For the first 48 hours, you need to make sure everything is out because here's a quick story. With my daughter, she was in the hospital and she didn't come home for like a week later because her baby was in ICU. Soon as I belly bind her belly, the next morning, it was the piece of her placenta was stuck. So had we not done that, there could have been other issues.
So another thing that I did, because I think when you're pregnant with your first baby, you read everything because you have time to do that. I noticed that other countries approach birth differently. Mm-hmm. So in Germany, like midwives are a very big thing. And, other cultures like Indian cultures and African cultures, it's about like you stay at home after you have a baby for a certain period of time. And I was really frustrated that we had our daughter on a Friday and the pediatrician was like, girl, you need to be up here with that baby on Tuesday. And it was only because Monday was a holiday. And I was like, I just birthed this baby out of my body. And now I have to like get me and her together and leave. Mm-hmm. So that's been kind of a frustrating thing that I've seen. Cookie, what do you tend to see, or what are some of your gripes about how Americans and probably Western culture approach postpartum care? Like, are we getting enough rest? What are we doing wrong?
Yeah. Rest is the biggest thing here in America. We're not getting enough rest. We don't have enough support. Returning back to work early. Like that 6 weeks thing. Like how? You're not even healed in 6 weeks,
Yeah.
It takes your body at least 6 months to get back. And it might not ever get back, but at least 6 months to get back. Where in other cultures, like me traveling and living in Africa and Nigeria, you cannot walk out that door for 30 days. You stay in your room for 30 days. You do not shower for 10 days. They're there constantly taking care of you, making sure that you're okay. You're not moving for 30 days. And then even after the 30 days, you're still just in the house. Mm-hmm. You can just come from the back room now.
So there's no going to the pediatrician with the baby on 3 days later.
What? And then that's another benefit of having a midwife. Mm-hmm. She'll come to you.
Mm-hmm. That was huge. That like that 3-day checkup for baby. Midwife came to me. I was still in the bed. I actually was instructed not to shower for like 5 days, mm-hmm. but I could take hoe baths, as they say. But I felt that my turnaround time was a lot quicker. Like I felt like I recovered from childbirth a lot faster with the second than I did the first.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know people who are like, oh yeah, I had my baby and I could just like jump out of the bed the next day. And it's like, but should you? Should you?
So Cookie, in our intro for you, we mentioned that you were very passionate about the concept of mindful birth. Mm-hmm. So can you explain a little bit about what the concept of mindful birth is?
So mindful birth is being mindful that I am giving birth. My body knows what to do. And to listen to your body, because if we're not listening to our body and we're listening to other people, then that's where we have some issues to come in. So I teach mindful birth classes. And first, we just start with the whole root. So it's like a 7-week class, and you're going to go through each chakra, and it brings up some feelings of your birth, how your birth was, and then you start opening some doors and asking some questions. So you're bringing these things up, and it's like now you're going through the solar chakra. You're bringing all these things up. So now you're mindful. You're learning how to meditate through birth. It's actually like almost getting hypnotized. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's really what it is. You zone out and you go into another place when you're meditating. You go to your sacred place, and that's where you are, and you let your body do what your body needs to do.
So it's almost like removing the conscious mind and keep it from interfering with the process of birth.
Yes.
That was like a fun fact in that class that I thought was so cool, is that your body knows how much of each hormone to produce for birth. It knows exactly how to open up. It knows how much your baby weighs. The fact that after a certain point, they can measure your bump and it tracks like how many weeks you are in centimeters. Like that was just wild to me. And so I think we always approach things as like the medical way and like what is the Western medicine way? And just like taking a step back and kind of realizing like this is like really divine creation type stuff that our body has never read a manual on how to have a baby and is like, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Right. Until someone goes in and interrupt that process.
Yeah, we talked about that in that class we took, how I think the lighting was one thing, right? Like animals naturally will go underneath a building, like in the South, those buildings in the South that have like the raised foundation on bricks. You'll see cats and like possums and stuff go underneath there to give birth. And they want to be in that dark and that secure place. And the kind of traditional Western hospital with the very bright lights is the antithesis of what naturally the mom wants to do. They want to be in a darkly, dimly lit room in a very secure space. And so that was something that we learned in that doula class that kind of like opened my eyes, like, wow.
It's like the same mood that you would set to make a baby is the mood you need to set to have a baby.
Exactly.
Which felt very like, duh.
In the same positions also. Like we work so hard on your back, legs up. Like, is that the only position? No, you like get in what position that feels good to you. And that's the same way you made the baby. Like whatever position that was that felt good at that time. That's how your body naturally does.
I heard a rumor that King Louis XVI was like a big old freak, and he was like interested in like how women had babies, and he started this trend.
He's the one that started it on the back.
You heard that too?
Yeah, I read it.
Interesting.
I honestly
because women
read
used
it.
to squat. It was very normal to squat. Just nasty. You see? Patriarchy.
And he changed it because he wanted to see that. Yeah.
Ugh. Anyway. So let's talk about boobs.
That's my favorite subject.
For moms that are able to breastfeed, why do you think it's so important?
It's superfood. It's superfood for your baby. It's the most powerful food that you can give your baby. And only mammals can do it. So let's talk about breastfeeding. Is a cow going to go let a goat breastfeed its child? You know what I'm saying? No, because a goat can't give the same nutrients that the cow can give to its own child. So that's why I'm saying it's like superfood that you are giving, like you are giving superpowers to that baby. Let me just say this. If you can only do it for 48 hours, because I understand there's a lot of trauma that comes from certain people that don't want to breastfeed. But I just say if you could do it for 48 hours and give your baby all the nutrients, that colostrum is the best medicine you can give that baby. So if you only did it for 48 hours, you're giving your baby the best medicine. And that's why they call it gold.
I was stunned when I heard that the saliva from your baby gives your breast information so it knows exactly what to produce.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your baby has a cold
Yeah.
or upset stomach. And that was wild to me. That was wild.
So I know that not every mom is able to easily breastfeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even the early days with our first daughter, there were some challenges that Jen had.
Yeah.
We had to figure some things out. So can you talk a little bit about tools that are available for moms to learn how to more effectively breastfeed?
Yes. Unfortunately, a lot of us don't have the time to take the breastfeeding classes or don't have the funds to take the breastfeeding classes. So some tools are IG. Like I give tips every day on Instagram. I also do a $5 Monday, which is called Milk Monday. And that's just like where we just get in a group and it's on Zoom. We do it on Zoom. Sometimes I go live, but most definitely I'm on Zoom, and inside my studio, the moms come there and we just, if you have a question, you can just like hop in and say, hey, I have this question and how can you support me there? Also, I'm on Instagram and you can DM me if it's just a basic question. Or if you're thinking like, hey, I don't think I can do this and you just need support, you can DM me or you can go to my website and email me and I can show you or support you in that way. And a lot of moms also feel like, okay, baby is not getting enough milk or I'm not producing enough milk. Well, a lot of times you are giving baby exactly what he or she needs. But if you feel you're not getting baby, if you're not producing enough milk, I have lactation cookies and I have lactation tea that is like very, very powerful. Both of those things together, you will produce a milk. And also, once again, like there might be just a little trauma that's happened, like you have like some scarred tissue in your breast that just need to get massaged out. I do breast massages and we can work that out. So basically there is tips on IG. DM me. I am here to support you with breastfeeding, feeding your baby. I'm so passionate about that part.
Since you brought up your cookies, which are phenomenal, by the way.
Thank you.
What makes them different?
When I crafted Milk by Cookie, I did not want anyone to get a stale cookie because I am a pastry chef and I'm like, oh my gosh, some of those products out there are like a brick, like cardboard. And I was like, how can you no. So I made sure that I crafted a recipe that not only tastes good, but also worked, also helped produce milk. So I got a couple of moms and I was just like, okay, we're going to do this thing. So I didn't want to put out like just a cookie because that's initially just what I said. I was like, oh, I'm going to do just a cookie. And I was like, no, I'm going to do cookie dough so mom can have a fresh cookie anytime she wants it.
And the dads eat them too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've had a couple there. They're pretty good.
Yeah, thank you. So that's another thing. So when I did craft this, it's also just the ingredients are all natural and all organic, but they're also omega-3s. So they also help with anyone in your family.
And they're vegan too, right?
They're vegan.
They're so good.
Dope. So y'all make sure you go to Milk by Cookie. That's milk with a Y. milkbycookie.com to check out those cookies.
Yep.
So one last question. This is our bug out bag question. Beyond items needed for survival, what is one unique and maybe to others non-essential item that you absolutely need to have in your bug out bag. For me right now, it's edge control because I just got braids. And make sure my edges are still on fleek, as the kids used to say. So what's your bug out bag item?
I am such a black hippie, you know? I don't need very much. I don't wear no bras. I don't need very much. You know what I'm saying? But I am a hippie that carry a Louis Vuitton. But so I am gonna load my Louis Vuitton. That's the never full I have, and load it up with my crystals and candles.
Okay.
Yeah. That's about it.
I like that. I like that. Keeping it spiritual while you're on, on the move.
Yeah. That's about it. Because I mean, that was, I don't need anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Cookie. Well, before we go, can you tell people where folks can find you on the internet?
Mm-hmm. So you can find me House of Sage. That is HAUS of OF. And Sage is my kid's name, is SAJ.com. And that's also the same spelling on Instagram. And my other page is for lactation support in your cookie dough. Like, come on through, cookie dough. Is Milk by Cookie, and that's MYLK by BY Cookie, COOKIE.com. And it's the same on Instagram.
We'll put those in the show notes for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Cookie. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed that interview with Cookie. We told you she's amazing. For more information on Black Maternal Health Week, you can visit blackmamasmatter.org.
All right, guys. As always, if you have any questions for us, please email us at chakrasandshotguns@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you'd like to join our Chakras and Shotguns community, you can support us on Patreon. And finally, if you're loving the show, please subscribe and give us 5 stars wherever you listen.
Namaste.